Upcycling is a great way to bring new luster to things that maybe have been sitting around a while and aren't as trendy as they used to be. So today I'm going to show you how you can use couching to upcycle a jacket, make it unique and personalized for fall. Before getting started on couching, you'll want to wash and dry your jacket. If you do plan to couch on the upper back of the jacket, be sure to remove the label, as this could impede your stitching, creating a thicker area. Next, you want to lay out your fabric so that it is nice and flat, and you're going to draw out your design. For a darker denim jacket, I would recommend using a light chalk, but for a lighter denim, I think it's easier to use an erasable pen. Once I finished drawing out my design, I took a picture of the drawing and I put it into my tablet. Then I used my tablet to draw different colors over the image to try to decide what colors I wanted to use. The next thing that I'm going to do is I want to get where I want to start for my jacket. The needle that I am using for this, because I am using denim, you absolutely want to use at minimum an 18, which is for very heavy. There's also larger needles. Definitely don't go any smaller than an 18. I am using a couple of feet from the 9-foot or the 9-piece foot attachment, which works with all of our machines. I'm going to be using 2 of the couching feet. I'm using the large one for my larger yarn, and I'm using the medium one for the worsted weight yarn that I'm using. I'm going to leave this a little bit loose to start with so that I can easily get my machine underneath it. Find some places where I don't have a button or a pocket or something like that, because like I said, it's not a quilt. And I'm really just couching the back side of it because I figured that's really where I want that uniqueness to be. Right, so I have it where I want it to be, so now I want to position where I want to start with my project. One of the most important parts of this is it needs to be really tight. So I'm going to start by giving it a bit of a twist here. And I want to add my bungees because I want to make it tight on the sides as well. So just wherever I can find a good place for that bungee. I like to put the bungees on first just to see where do I need to deal with my sleeves. And once I get my sleeves pinned down and out of the way, I'm then going to tighten my bungees. So we're going to give this a nice pull on this side, and we'll do it on the other side as well. And that looks pretty good there. I want to add some more tension this way. All right, now that I have this pretty much how I want it, I'm going to double check the height of my foot. And that's because, again, it's a thinner project, right? It's shaped a little bit differently than a quilt. So for the couching to work well, I need to make sure that I've got a good height gauge. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to start with blue, because the blue is going to make the little swirlies that I have for the different parts that are going to be my sky. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to start by bringing my bobbin up for the first one, just so I know everything's going to go really well. And then I'm going to get my yarn into position. This is a little bit different project. So to get it started, and so that I don't have a lot of tail, I'm going to stuff my yarn in there and use my needle up, needle down. And I'm going to do this 4 or 5 times to really lock that piece of thread to the yarn that I have here so that it's ready to go. And then what I want to do is I have placed my needle where I want to start, but I want to make sure that it grabs, right? Because I'm not starting like the end of a quilt and kind of moving on. I'm starting a very specific place in my pattern. So I am going to actually, what I'm going to call a back stitch, I'm going to go past it and come back. And now I'm just going to do my movement until I get to the edge here. So this does have a lot of starts and stops with the different places that I want my different colors. I have come to a place I want to end. I am also going to do several stitches here. Make sure I have really locked that down. And I like to go ahead and cut. And I'm going to bring my bobbin up again. So I'm going to bring my needle up so I can get this out of the way. So we're going to start the next one over here. Again, like I said, I like to go ahead and bring this up ahead of time, and that's because once I get the thick yarn in there, it's kind of hard to see. That's why I wear glasses. It's already hard enough for me to see things. Again, going to get that in position, tuck this down, 4 or 5 stitches. The more the merrier, because I really want it to be there. A little bit of a back stitch. Make sure I've got it. And then I'm ready to move through. Make sure that you have lots of slack in your material here so that you can get nice smooth movements. So I'm just going to finish putting my sky on, and then we will move on to some of the new other design elements. All right, now that I have finished adding my sky portions, I'm going to switch colors, and I'm going to do my stem and parts of my leaves and backtrack a little bit and then move forward. Now for this design, I decided, you know, in fall, sometimes your leaves have multiple colors because they're changing. So I've decided that I'm only going to do a little bit of green. So I have some of these different textured yarns that I'm using to add a little bit more interest to my design. You'll see I picked some sparkly colors as well. I think I'm going to add one of the colors to the part of the leaf here. And I'm just going right over that sky. And that's because I do plan to fill in a little bit with this color. Pull up that bobbin, trim that yarn. This one I think I'm going to actually start it right in the green a little bit. I think that will be fun because it is a slightly different thickness to the yarn as well. I love mixed media. There we go. Go ahead. We'll do a little bit of line work with this one. And I think that's all of this color I want to use. I'm gonna add a maroon here. Don't be afraid to get your fingers in there, just get them out of the way before you start your sewing. Some people say it doesn't hurt. I think it will hurt. So we're just gonna fill in our leaf here. I really like how that came out a little furry. And I'm going to move on to using the white here, which I'm going to use for the flowers down here and for my cloud that I have over there. And again, this is a sparkly one. Sequins. All right, so we're going to create our circle for this. And I like to go back on the outside. All right, moving on to the cloud up here. Okay, we're finishing up here with our thicker yarn as we move into the flower. So I'm going to do that one for you, and then I am going to switch my foot so we can use my worsted weight yarn. All right, same thing that we've been doing, just changing colors. I'm going to start in the swirl, thread my yarn, and if I haven't mentioned it, I know I've done it. There is a little hole here, and it kind of piece of metal here wraps around to create that hole. So you just slide that right in there, and that is what's going to help keep your yarn in place for the stitching. I really love this foot. Okay, so I need to change out this piece here for the next yarns that I'm going to use because they are thinner. I'm using these 2 worsted weights just to add a little bit more difference in texture. So to do that, I need to remove my foot. And these are really easy to change. The black marking is when it's locked in place, and the red marking is what you actually line up. So I just need to twist it the other direction to get that off. Try the different yarns with the different size feet to see which one is going to create the most secure stitch. All you do is you take the red dot, you line it up with the black square dot that's on the plastic part of the couching foot, and you just give it a twist. And once you give it a twist, it locks in place. I'm going to easily hook it right back up, making sure that I get my needle in the center, and I need to then check my height of my foot again since I did take it off. That feels good. I'll finger tighten it first, but I want to get a halfway decent torque here because I don't want my foot to fall off. I'm going to finish my flower with this peachy color that I have. I'm going to start this one in the center as well, just off center a little bit so that I can add a little bit of texture and interest. Again, just like with the other couple stitches, get that locked in there. This one I left a little bit more of a tail just because it is a thinner yarn. Backtracking a little bit. All right, we've got it. All right, so flower is done. I'm going to add a little bit of silver to my clouds because every cloud has a silver lining, right? I'm also going to use this silver to frame the picture I've just created here. And then we will add our fringe. All right, time to add our fringe if we want it, which I do. To add this, I'm going to show you this yarn. You can see that it's got a lot of holes in it, and it's got places that could really get caught. So if I use my regular hopping foot or anything like that, I'm really going to struggle with this. I can't feed it, even if I use the largy one, I can't feed it in here because again, these little places are going to get caught, right? So I need to use the glide foot. Anytime you're doing anything that has a lot of texture, the glide foot is going to be wonderful. The glide foot looks like a little bowl. It's rounded at the bottom, a nice clear plastic so you can see what you're doing. That's another great thing about it. So you can see how easily it will just go over everything. And I'm going to put my fringe right here. Right, so I already have that natural shape to it. I'm going to start by cutting it a little bit longer than how I want it, because I can always trim it later. You could sew either side. I just like the look of it this way better. And other than that, it's the same thing. And we're going to pretty much get it started the same way we did with the couching. We're going to do a true back stitch on this one a couple of times. And then I'm just going to use my fingers to align where I want this fringe. And then when I get to the end, the same thing, just going to back stitch a few times. Bring up my bobbin. And then just trim the excess. Just kind of pull it back a little bit. For any strings, if you did get any tangles anywhere. And we can take it off the frame and it's ready to wear. All right, so here we go. Here's our finished product. Super cute. And then on the inside, I haven't finished doing any of the trimming if I did have any, but still looks pretty good. Like I said, we brought up all the bobbin, looks pretty neat inside as well. So Great way to upcycle, make something fun, make something unique. Give it a try. Get that 9-piece foot. You will not be sorry with all of the different things that you can do with it.